Pat, thanks very much for joining us on the Global Cycling Network. We saw you earlier on the track, and I think it's something that people forget about you, that you've got a history in cycling, you enjoy riding your bike. In fact, you had a great career. I've actually brought a few different photographs along with me which might jog your memory, but could you just explain how you got into the sport?
I think that was possibly at the start or at the finish of the London Holyhead. I was riding at the time with, the last couple of years of my years I rode with Viking team in the UK. And my father is on my right and an uncle of mine on the left, and they had travelled over to see the London Holyhead. And I think that might have been at the finish of it. That's why I'm very drawn looking in the face, because I just finished 265 miles in about 9 hours. That was my mother and father's wedding. And on my father, you see in the background of that, you see the wheels covering the arch as he came out, because he was a cyclist. He rode for Ireland, he rode internationally in world championships and things like that. And then he had between himself and my mother, they had 10 children, 7 boys and 3 girls. All the boys got involved in cycling, and I was the eldest and the first to start racing, and then the others followed, and some were fairly heavily involved, and others only had short careers, so to speak. So I mean, I've been riding my bike all my life, and then I didn't turn professional. I decided to go to university instead at that time, for those couple of important critical years that you would use to turn pro. And then went teaching, came back to Ireland, went teaching, and continued to race right up until early 30s. And I remember the day I announced my retirement, which was in the Phoenix Park in Dublin, the Grand Prix of Ireland, mid-June in 1982, I think it was. I said, that's my career over. Immediately the federation approached me and asked me would I be interested in working with teams, or coaching with them, because I was a qualified physical education teacher. And so I immediately said yes, and then started working with riders and working with teams, taking teams away, managing them, and that led up to the Olympic Games in 1984, Los Angeles, where I brought the Irish team there. And then went from there. I got involved in organising races after that, and spent 10, 12 years organising races in Ireland, the Nissan Classic in Ireland, the Kellogg's Tour of Britain along with Alan Rushton in the UK, and races in Malaysia, Philippines, and got a lot of experience of cycling outside of Europe from that point of view, which gave me a little bit of a vision for cycling, or the potential for cycling, in the role I ended up in. And I suppose the highlight of the organisation was bringing the Tour de France to Ireland in 1998. So I've been involved in one fashion or other fashion in cycling all my life, and my brother's the same. And my youngest brother now has just announced there this week he's been heavily involved in the organisation will be in the organisation of the Giro into Ireland next year. That was my father was racing in Italy at the time, and he saw this little Sinelli mini racing bike, and he bought it and brought it back for me. And that was at an athletics meeting in Trinity College, I think. At that time, and it was a grass track meeting. That time, athletics and cycling, you were usually run together in these grass track meetings. And so he had me do a lap on this little racing bike. I mean, at that time, there was no such thing would ever have been seen in Ireland. And now you see quite a lot of that type of thing. But then it was something very special, and it actually passed through 3 or 4 of the brothers as I outgrew. The next one took it, and then the next one after him, the next one after him. Myself and my brother Kieran, he's 1 year younger than me, and he raced fairly soon after me and alongside me in a lot of international races, Tour of Britain, Tour of Scotland, things like that. He went to the Moscow Olympic Games, and he now imports giant into Ireland. In the 70s and 80s, you had the amateur cycling and professional cycling, two completely different calendars, amateur international races and professional races in Europe. And I rode a lot of amateur international races for Ireland over a period of 10 years. As I said, the milk race, 3 times in the milk race, 3-4 times the Scottish milk race, world championships and things like that. The highlights of my career obviously were winning the National Road Race Championship in 74, and then winning the Tour of Ireland in 75 and 76.